The cultural impact of Cupcakes within the confines of its intended fandom is an interesting subject of study, more so than the literary piece itself. In fact, the original fanfiction is nothing but a gratuitous, splattering display of self-complacent gore that plays under the tune of shock value in order to grab the reader's attention. It's the kind of unrewarding, insubstantial reading that snobby critics such as myself like to call "I've got better things to do with my time."
Sorry, Dashi, but I think I'm gonna wing it now.
Wow.
What?
Was that supposed to be a pun? Are you serious?
Oh, come on. Give me a break, Dashi.
What? No! That was weak. That's not Pinkie Pie standards for comedy. Wait. Really? What? Were you saving up for that bladder and stomach joke?
Well, actually...
In spite of that, it managed to garner far more fandom-encompassing following that something of this nature could realistically hope to achieve. Imagine if Master of Martial Arts was the single most popular anime between fans of the already disputable girl-fighting subgenre, and you might get the point I'm trying to make. Short of the universe-building weight of Fallout Equestria, the legacy of Cupcakes left in its wake many forms of reinterpretations and homages, often better than the source material itself, which doesn't take much effort. Produced by just as many talented artists, writers, animators, etc. Why is that? Why is it so popular? The answer is actually far simpler than you might think. Party of One. Other than being one of the best, if not the best, episode of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, it is also the one story that pretty much canonized Pinkie Pie's would-be murdering side in the mind of an entire community. The psychological breakdown provided a more edgy and complex side to the character, which in turn added layers to her personality, which in turn ended up accidentally validating and contextualizing the then already existing fanfiction in question as a far more believable outcome to Pinkie's mental fall, should the episode not have ended the positive way it did. It gifted the otherwise generically gory and inconclusive setting of Cupcakes with depths it neither had nor it deserved to begin with. The fact that they had Rainbow Dash, of all ponies, coming to fetch her for the surprise birthday party and witness firsthand the lowest depths of her insanity caused by the paranoia of losing her friends only reinforces this scenario. It's a crazy coincidence, to say the very least. In fact, it could be argued that it was Party of One and not Cupcakes itself the real source of all the artistic following, and you can see that by how popular the dull pink, straight-haired version of Pinkie Pie is among fans. Now, the mentally unstable, emotionally distraught Pinkamena the Young Pie is, unsurprisingly, yet another subject of study that far exceeds the limited scopes of the original novel's interest. And Feather's animation is currently the last in line in a huge sea of quality fan projects meant to explore the sheer levels of twistedness in said character. Feather is an extremely talented artist, musician, singer, and on occasion a minimalist animator. The minimalistic approach is exactly what grants this short music video of an aura of its own, going for a more subtle, claustrophobic atmosphere in open opposition to the image of over-the-top gore-fest that's usually associated with Cupcakes. The childish scribbles lost in a sea of perennial darkness create a gripping contrast between innocence and horror, symbolizing the rampant schizophrenia encompassing the mind of Pinkamena, whom perceives the act of violent murder as a distorted act of love towards their chosen victim, as if she herself doesn't seem to be fully aware of what she's doing. It's an interpretation of her madness that I personally find less interesting and original than the more disconcertingly down-to-earth version portrayed in Ask Pinkamena the Young Pie, in which she was always aware of her psychosis and perceived the act of love as the exact opposite from the act of murder. Nevertheless, Feather's video is a pure psychological nightmare, and as such it imbues itself in an appropriately ethereal plane of existence, which is only empowered by the fact that we don't see the victim being murdered. We just feel it and hear it through Pinkamena's lyrics and barely animated motions. For all we know, this could be all happening inside her head. It could very well be her own subconscious mind forcing her to relieve the horror of her actions, which would completely validate the subtle metamorphosis of her scribbled self into a monstrous being that barely resembles an equine. Another theory could be that she might just be dreaming of herself as Rainbow Dash being murdered by her evil version, as suggested by the first-person point of view that the animation occasionally adopts. Both interpretations would make a lot of sense in this specific context. The music provides an excellent accompaniment to this madness descent, with the initial heartbeat-like percussions that immediately reminded me of the theme from John Carpenter's The Thing, composed by Ennio Morricone. Which only empowered the previously mentioned monstrous metamorphosis. Overall, Cupcakes plays out as a twisted, villainous musical performance within the confines of an equally twisted mind. A mind that only seems to regain some sort of self-awareness towards the very end. Once again, this is a pretty well-crafted artistic outing, and I wholly recommend it.
Because you're dead.
Ending the video on a jump scare is kind of cheap. Let's change that.
Anything is better than that. I'm just dying to get out of here. Now I know why you can't spell slaughter without laughter. I saw what you did there. When you said your cupcakes needed a little dash, I didn't think you meant like this. Now we'll finally know if I really taste like Skittles. If you really wanted a big piece of meat, you should have gotten Big Mac. I'm about to burst the gut, so we better cut it out. I really nailed that one. If this keeps going, I'm gonna die my life.
That was good.
So, still gonna turn me into Rainbow Cupcake?
What? No way.
You mean it?
Silly Billy. Why would I want to do that? Let me help you out. Silly costume.
But, Pinky, how are you gonna explain all those corpses?
Oh, all those mannequins and wax figures? Easy. I like convincing performances.
Pinkie Pie, you're just so random.
Was it scary? Was it scary?